Today we're going to be taking a look at a 1937 Packard 120. We'll show you a little bit about it, kind of how it operates, and some of the details and the style about the 120, and what 120 is compared to a 115 Packard. Very similar car, but much different. Anyway, so let's take a tour of this 37 Packard 120, and then we'll take it for a drive. So what we have here is really an all original Packard 120. This car was originally delivered, and I'll show you under the hood, in the Dakotas, and it's stamped right on the VIN where it was delivered from the Packard family. And this is a 120. Now, a 120 has a 120-inch wheelbase compared to the 115, which has a 115-inch wheelbase. But the other thing that you should know too, a little bigger on the interior in a 120, but you get the famous Packard straight 8 right here under the hood. The 115 has the Packard 6. Also, very interesting on this car, these grille shutters, you can see that they're closed, and this car has pneumatic grille shutters. So when you park the car, they close, and when you start the car, they have a vacuum assist and they open up straight. Now, other thing too to notice about the Packard is that these fenders, how far back they swoop compared to a 115. You get your extra wheelbase here in this fender, so it gives it a really nice, graceful, flowing look. You could also on this car get side mount fenders that are cut into the fender with wells, and then stick up and have a casing around them to prevent them from sun damage and weathering and so forth. This car also has the suicide doors. I'll show you on the other side. You might have some more light. And around the back side of it, it has the shelved trunk. In this trunk right here, you've got a shelf, you got your tire, and you got a spare hubcap and some different things here and there. But they call this the shelved rear because you've got your tire underneath instead of the side mount spares. You know, a lot of folks come and go. They want the side mount spares, and then other folks don't want the side mount spares because they feel it ruins the lines of the car, or not ruins the lines of the car, but it interrupts the lines of the car. I mean, you look at these fenders with this crease right here in the top and how they flow back. I mean, it's almost like an upside down boat hull. Perfect. This car has never been in an accident. It's never had rust, and I mean, that's some solid gauge steel. The other thing with these cars is just these bullet headlights. Very, very gorgeous. We'll take a look here, as I told you about, in the inside, and look at the back seat of this car. What you'll find, the door's locked. We'll go in here and pull the lever. There we go. There's no keys. You lock it by pulling the lever up on the inside. But you look at the front seat of this car and how much room you have, and then you look at the back seat of this car and how much more room you have. You know, folks who bought these cars back in the day, oftentimes they didn't buy them to sit up here. They bought them to sit back here because they had a driver, and you know, I'm gonna go ahead and get in the back. I'm 6'2" and have a pretty good weight to me, and look at how much room I have. There's hardly a car you could buy today, and of course your this is for your robe. You got a footrest right down here for your feet. You got cigarette lighters, ashtrays, handles, windows that open up right here. But I'm sitting back behind the door into this area. So anyway, the back seat on this car is tremendous. And oftentimes the people who own these cars, this is where they rode. We'll take a look up front. Beautiful wood grain dash, banjo steering wheel. One of the other things that you know, Packard was pretty proud of on these 120s was this nickel, and it doesn't look very good in this light, but this is a nickel steering column. Goes all the way down the steering box. Nickel gear shift lever, and these things close like a vault, just like that. Perfect. So anyway, let's take a look at the interior here on this 120, and what you can see here is you've got turn signals, and these are added on very nicely too, I might say. Right on the sides of the pods in the back, we've got turn signals that someone put on. Here's a nickel plated knob for the brake release. speedometer, trip meter. You've got your lights. You've got parking, low, and then high. So it's a three-way switch. Ashtray right here. Dash light. Throttle. You can set your fast idle right here with the throttle. Cigarette lighter, start button, key. And also underneath here, you've got a little control right here with a light that comes on. This is your heater, so you can close this up when you don't need it. You can see the coil in there for the hot water, but this is your heater. Sometimes I just leave it open like this and you get enough warmth coming out of it just from it being hot without having to adjust the fan up and down. This right here, this lever right here, you can see that operates your cowl vent. So that's your air conditioning. It's a two-step. You got that and you got that. 1, 2, and then closed. Cowl vent. This has an auxiliary electric fuel pump that was added in later. That's not something in the factory, but sometimes these cars will tend to vapor lock. So you just click that fuel pump on, or if it's been sitting for a long time and you want to get gas up to the car, but you turn it on, and that sends fuel up to your carburetor. Switch right here is for instrumentation lights. They don't turn off the headlights. You turn them on manually. And then, of course, like I said, your heater control. Cigarette lighter, interesting enough, it's got a piece of glass right in it here. And this cigarette lighter, I don't know if you can see it now, you can't, but when this thing lights, I'm not going to light it for you, but trust me, when this thing lights and glows red on the end, you're looking at the end of it through this glass, and this glows red. So anyway, that's kind of the tour of the Packard 120 on the inside. Pinstripe interior, gorgeous, and then just all the heavy metal and chrome and trim on here. This was really something back in 1937. Another thing that's really interesting on this car is everything works. And you know, you look at these clocks, it says it's 4:15. Well, look at my phone, it's 4:15. So the clock, well, it's about 1 minute slow, but the clock on this car works. Isn't that amazing? I mean, usually with these cars, you buy them new, after a year or so, none of the clocks worked on any cars back there in 1937, but this clock still works. Someone probably redid it, but anyway, everything works on this car. And I'll show you under the hood too, and then we'll start it up and show you how the functionality of it, everything works here on the dash as far as starting it goes. But let's take a look under the hood. And this car here, you can see on the data plate, it says City, Sioux Falls, Iowa, and that's where it was sold new, right there, where it says City, and then there's the date, 2, I think that's 5 of 1937, and the vehicle number. So the Packard Motor Company, Detroit, Michigan, they stamped the city and where these cars went when they were new. So this one went to Sioux Falls. And then you can see just the standard straight 8-cylinder Packard motor. You got your remote oil filter here. That's that nickel steering column that I told you about, your starter. And then look at these horns. 2 trumpet horns, and I'll sound them for you when we get back inside. But when you press the horn button on here, and whoever's in front of you, they know you're coming through. This is also the vacuum actuator here for the shutters on the grill. And this car has been upfitted with an aftermarket fan. It's about a 10-blade fan, and that blows a lot of air. This car will not overheat. It's much better than the 2-blade or 4-blade metal fan, and it's also a lot easier on the water pump. So anyway, that's the tour of the car. Oil bath air filter and downdraft carburetor. So anyway, let's close it back up, and we'll give it a start. Now what I'll do is, so you can see how the grille shutters work, I'll set the camera right here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me start it up and you can see that grille shutter open. And open they are. Look at that, straight open. I can put my fingers through there now. So these grille shutters open and close, like I said, when you start the car. Beautiful hood line on this car. The metal on this car is perfectly straight. Every bit of it, no rust underneath. Amazing that it was from Sioux City or Sioux Falls, I guess, whatever it said on there. Take a look on the inside. and you've got your amp gauge, temperature. I've been driving a little bit. We just serviced this car with the fluid change and everything, so it's about 160, 30 pounds of oil pressure, and quarter tank of fuel. But this car, when you turn it on right here, you just press the start button and she's running. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the tour of the Packard 120. Stay tuned, look at the next video. We're taking it for a drive.